All right, so you know that moment where hindsight is really 2020 and you have a conversation with somebody and then after the conversation you get exactly what you wish you could have said, but you know that it's too late now because the conversation is over to bring it really up. Let's hope that this video is not one of those videos. And I just mean to say, when I say all of that, that the work just needs doing. The work absolutely just needs doing. Right? And there's a couple of things that I was thinking before I made this video, which is why I just said what I said. And I'm just hoping that I can remember them enough to deliver them to you, because I just really felt like it was revelation when I said it. So much so that I think I want to start off right here. And it's understanding that it always takes you. Right? Like if there's only one person, I'll even go further to say two. If there's only two people that you really ever need to do anything, it's you and God, right? Because without you, nothing will happen, and without God, nothing can happen. I'll say it one more time, because without you, nothing will happen, and without God, nothing can happen. See, with God, all things are possible, but it still takes you to believe that things can be possible. See, God can give you all of the impressions, God can give you all of the visions, God can give you all of the dreams, and he can place it in the greatest nation in the world, and that can be your imagination, and he can give it all to you. But if you don't believe, oh, that's just a silly dream. Oh, that vision, yeah, that's cool, but I never act on it. Oh yeah, but that's never for me, or that's too uncomfortable for me to do, or this or that, whatever excuses you want to put up to it. Because we know at the end of the day that we see the vision of us being able to do something, right? It's just us needing to hold on to faith, which is the substance of that thing, for it to actually come into reality. So God can give it to you, but if you aren't willing, it won't work, right? If you're not willing to put in the work, then the work can't work. But if you flip the coin, then you realize that if you put the work in, that the work works. I'll say this. I used to call myself, and this might seem very contradicting, so give me a moment to even be able to articulate myself well enough to express what I'm trying to. I used to call myself a workaholic. Yes, I thought being a workaholic was technically a good thing, in that people just didn't understand it because they just didn't care as much as I did. That's a perspective. Honestly, it is. But I don't think being addicted to work is the latter, right? I don't think that's the best option. And I would say that because I think there was moments in my life, and sometimes still is, where I take my life too seriously. And I'm not saying this to say that the latter should be you not take your life seriously at all, right? I don't think that is it either. I think there's a healthy way to take yourself seriously in moderation. And with that, I find myself sometimes, okay, I understand where I'm at now. Thank you. Thank you for giving me grace. I realized that in the moments where I want to be a workaholic, it's almost in the moments where I also am trying to become a previous version of myself who got me to where I am. Allow me to elaborate further. Meaning, in moments where I feel like I'm not being productive in the present, I look towards myself in previous versions in the past where I had a strict, or I was more disciplined. I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, every single morning, and get this done, this done, this done. And I say I need to be that version of myself now in the present, right? And maybe it's coming from a good place of knowing that you need discipline in your life, but you can never find your future self in the past. Your future isn't made in the past, it's made now in the present. And the reason why I feel like we find ourselves looking or living in reference to our past versions, good or bad, is because there's some form of comfort knowing that our past versions of ourselves has gotten us here. Where now in the current present, the future is an enigma and we don't know how to get there, but we know how we got here. And so we tried to copy and paste that over and over and over again, good or bad. And it's almost like this. It's like you watching the same show over again or the same movie over again. You know everything that's going to happen. You know the lines, you know who's going to say them, you know what's about to happen in the next scene, and you also know the ending. But there's comfort in choosing something that you're familiar with because there's comfortability in the known. See, it's the enigma itself where we're fearful. It's the enigma itself that makes us afraid. It's the enigma itself that makes us dismayed, right? And there's a Bible verse that tells us to not be afraid, right? There's a Bible. The Bible says it so many times. It would be hard for me to just pick one, right? But the Bible tells us so many times. I'm thinking about Joshua, I believe, like 1:9, and it's saying, haven't I commanded you, or haven't your Lord commanded you to not be afraid, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God goes before you. And I believe that the reason why it's hard for you to put in the work isn't because you don't believe that it will work. It's just because you don't believe, or it's not because you don't believe that it will work or not. It's rather you don't know where it's taking you. Right? There is, going back to the movie reference, you watching that same film over and over again, you're in your comfort zone. But saying that all it takes, right? All it takes for it to work is that you just have to do the work that the work just needs doing. So I'm reading my board here so I can collect my thoughts. That the work just needs doing. Normally I put it in my notes here in my journal so I can stay on track. But just saying that the work just needs doing. The uncomfortability in that alone is that we don't necessarily know where it's taking us. And I think the amazing part about having trust in not being, and God saying this to us, to not be afraid, is simply because He knows where He's taking us. We don't know, but He does. This is where we get this ultimate God's plan for you. You don't know the plan. You're just a vehicle. You don't know the destination, but He does. This is why they say that it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's being willing to even get on the road. It's being willing to even start the race. It's being willing to even start the business, record the video, whatever it is for you. Start the workout plan, read the book, take the test. It doesn't really matter because it all matters. And this is saying that the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. When are you going to be ready to leave? And I love that. I love that because a lot of us are waiting for the perfect time to leave. And there will never be a perfect time. The work just needs doing. I mean, I love it because the work just needs doing is the validity in itself. Like the question answers itself. Like, how do I do this? Just put the work in. Well, how do I get here? Just put the work in. Well, how does this happen? You just got to do the work. Like the work just needs doing. The only way you can get on the other side is if you do the work. The only way to get to the mountaintop is if you start taking a step by step approach to get there. The only way you can start the business is if you start at step 1 to 2 to 3, and then officially you have one. The work just needs doing. And I love this because the Bible tells us to do not be afraid, but it doesn't mean that you won't be scared. It just means don't be afraid. Don't become the fear. Don't live it. You can be scared and still, like, you can be frightened. You can be nervous. You can be these things, right? Or let me say this in a better way, because I feel like that may be contradicting itself, because the whole thing is don't be it, right? Don't become the thing. A lot of us, brings us back to the version of ourselves where we're uncomfortable in this new experience because our previous version of ourselves is not accommodating to it. So we're becoming the uncomfortability. We're becoming our own enemy. We're becoming our own roadblock. Because even though the journey says yes, we say no. We block it for ourselves. And so you wonder, how is it ever going to happen? Or when is it ever going to be the time? And it'll never happen because you're the one holding you back. Which leads to this being your answer, that the work just needs doing. It just takes putting in the work, because the work works. Now instead of me bringing us back, let me bring us forward to understanding that he who suffers before is necessary, or he who suffers before is necessary, suffers more than necessary. He who suffers before is necessary suffers more than necessary. I was on the way back home yesterday and I was dreading this drive, right? Because, it's certain places where you drive to and the drive is, you know what I mean? It's actually fun. It's more scenic. Well, I had to drive and it was not, I hate that drive. I'm gonna be honest with you. Hate's a strong word, but I really dislike the drive enough to see myself in parts of the journey that I haven't even taken yet. And I was already disliking it. And I say that to say that before I even experienced the thing, I already told myself that I wouldn't like it. Right? How many times have we done that before we've even experienced the thing that we're supposed to be going into, which is going to happen regardless? We've already told ourselves how it would plan out. We already told ourselves how it would be and how we would experience the expression before we even step into it. And it turns out that I did decide to intentionally become conscious in where I was presently on my journey, instead of already dreading parts that I didn't even have to dread yet. And in that, I was able to allow myself to experience it, for better or worse. And it actually was better than I previously thought. And I think that happens most times, if not all times, right? When we step into new experiences that makes us uncomfortable, or just things that we are forced to do rather than a choice. And I was telling my fiance when we were driving, I was telling her that you can prepare, but you can't control. You can prepare for it, but you can't control it. All you can do is control your experience in it. Like, all you can do is be you in it. All you can do is control you and your thoughts while you're in the experience itself. You can control your expression, but you can't control anything else. There's so many things that I couldn't control on that journey. All I could control is what I could. And that leads me back to I think a video that I was talking about earlier, or maybe just something I said in it, but something I'm saying a lot more often this year, is that I'm just doing the best I can. Just do the best you can with what you have. And when you realize that all you have is all you need, I know that seems like a stretch, because for a lot of us, we think that we need so much just to do so little. But when you realize that all you have is all you need, it brings in the validity itself. Again, it validates itself. It gives you the affirmation now that the work just needs doing. It doesn't take much to get started. Even more, much isn't even required. When you first start, all you are given is what you can handle. But when you show up day after day and day after day, scratch it. Let's just make it simple. Sow the seed to the thing that you want to grow. If you're willing to sow the seed and you're willing to pour it, and you're willing to, nourish it, pour water on it, come back every single day and just make sure that you're nurturing the thing that you said that you wanted to grow, it will grow. But make sure that you don't pull it out, of the ground to make sure it's growing. Have faith that it already is. Have faith that in the moments where you can't see the growth, that's when the roots are actually setting in. Because I'm telling you right now that before it grows up, it has to grow out. Before it grows up, it has to grow out. And sow your faith in that regard. That before your faith can start sprouting up, and things that you are thinking can actually become things that you are experiencing in life. It has to start spreading. It can't just be in your mind. It can't just be in your heart. It has to be all over you. It has to be in the way that you speak to it has to be the way that you speak in general, but also has to be the way that you speak to yourself. It has to be your thoughts. The Bible tells us to meditate upon the word day and night. So should you also be doing that with the things that you believe can happen. Jesus tells us that we just need the faith of a mustard seed. With the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Mustard seed real small. You can barely even see it with the human eye. So when I say that the work just needs doing, it's because it does. All you have to do is get to it. And what I'm finding, I'm about to touch time here, so what I'm finding in myself is that showing up every day for myself brings a certain validity towards why I'm doing what I'm doing in the first place. Right? And my reason why I'm doing this, because it's outside of myself. Not to say that I'm not also doing this for me, but I have a bigger purpose for why I'm doing this. It holds me to become disciplined. I have to raise myself to the desire that I'm trying to accomplish. And I made it so much deeper than just wanting this to be a success. It's already a success because I've already named it good. I'm the creator of it. The creator can all the creator has to do is set the value on his creation, and there it is. The same way God set the value on all of his creation, including us. He said that we were very good. So all it takes, right, is you to give affirmation to yourself, because the journey doesn't need it. It already believes that it's worth taking. So I'm starting to see some success in my life in that regard. Even with these videos, there's more of you guys in the comments, and more people are liking it and stuff like that. And I appreciate it. I really do. But I think that is just a byproduct of what I already gave it to myself. Like what I already pour into these videos. Before anybody else says that the video is good, I already said it was. But before, I feel like I needed that external affirmation. And when you don't get that external affirmation, and that's the only thing that you're seeking, it makes you feel like the things that you're producing isn't the standard. And that can be difficult. Which is why I say that the answer is never found on the outside, but always within. You can get all of the wise counsel, and you can get all of the advice, all of the 2 cents that people want to throw your way to equal up to $1. You can get all of it. But truly, you know what works best for you. You know what works best for you. Somebody can tell you what not to do, but only you and God can tell you what you should be doing. So if you made it to the end of this video, I'm really appreciative of it. I appreciate the comments. I mean, man, it's amazing to see that some of you are going through bigger situations but are getting through it, and that I can just be a resource to the source for your journey. It's amazing. Honestly, I'm just appreciative to be a vessel, and that these videos can be somewhat of a conduit to it. And for those who don't like these videos, I still love you. I still appreciate you spending your time with me, because I do. I love the videos that I'm making. I love this expression. It's allowing me to feel like me while I'm making them. And it's amazing to know that you being you can also help others. So, yeah. God is good, isn't he? But I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.